Yes, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, back from the Vancouver story, which, yeah. Yeah, so I've seen Split. I saw it, not Split, I have seen Split. Now I've seen Glass. I've seen the third one, the polarizing third movie of the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy of Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. Um, yeah, first impressions and then spoilers since it's been out for a week and pretty much everybody's already spoiled it. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna actually go on out. I'm actually gonna agree with the critics on this one. Normally I don't, but it just it yeah, it's like many of them are saying. Although I think Stone Gremlins liked it, or one of them did, and I think Brad Jones at Nostalgia Critic liked it a little bit. So I liked it a little bit also, and Angry Joe, two of them liked it, one of them didn't. So yeah, those are the other critical on the channels at least. Rotten Tomatoes, it was 39%. Yeah, about. Yeah, where it really, kind of doesn't work is the ending. I would also agree with that. The ending is just like, it's almost as if they ran out of money and then said, well, we can't actually do this ambitious plot about the mastermind Glass figuring out how to like bomb a tower. So let's do a bait and switch, what a twist and thing, and do something else with it. And have them fight in a parking lot. And I thought that was like if you weren't gonna do that, if that's your twist, then his like reactions to stealing the pieces of glass and stuff, they become a MacGuffin, plot device. There was a guy called Shadiversity discussing MacGuffins and saying that he got it wrong about a MacGuffin. He was saying that MacGuffins were they're plot devices all over in this movie. But are they MacGuffins? Well, a MacGuffin is a plot device that forwards the plot, but has an overall impact on the characters, but not on the story. So yes, the One Ring from Lord of the Rings is not a MacGuffin because it actually affects the characters in the story. The suitcase that lights up in Pulp Fiction is a MacGuffin. You never find out what it is. The Holy Grail is a MacGuffin until the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, in which it becomes a plot device. Yes, that's so. A MacGuffin can be any plot device that doesn't directly affect the heroes, but they're looking for it. Rosebud in Citizen Kane is a MacGuffin. We don't know what it is. It's his last words, and as Mark's Cards pointed out in that movie, Citizen Kane, he didn't actually say that to anybody. So who heard it? But they're supposed to imply that the waitstaff heard it somehow. Just outside the room and they heard him whisper it. Because he had really good hearing, I guess. But yeah, Rosebud is the sled, in case you didn't know. From the end of the movie, they show it to the audience in a typical Orson Welles way. Yeah, so, one of his first movies. Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, Split has MacGuffins, including the glass used for the laser, the glass on the cup, the cameras act as a MacGuffin. He's full of those. The Macintosh, the mother has at the end, a MacGuffin. Yeah, so literally a MacGuffin. Yeah, Deus Ex Machina, literally. Computer cameras. Yeah, the premise of the movie is that the crazy guy from Split, James McAvoy's character, he chews scenery through this thing like crazy. I wouldn't say it's Oscar worthy, like the last one was. It was more samey. So, but it was fun in those parts when he was like doing these different characters. But it was like watching a stand-up routine or something. He goes in Bruce Willis's character and his son from Unbreakable. The Unbreakable and the son are in the they're crime fighters like vigilantes in the background, and they happen upon James McAvoy's character, the Beast. When he's not the Beast, he's somebody else. He's kidnapped some other people. They happen upon him while they're searching around town in Philadelphia. Clearly Shyamalan wanted to make Rocky, and didn't. Loved Rocky. Didn't. They're building a new tower in the story that's central to another MacGuffin that doesn't actually go anywhere. It's a MacGuffin. There's a tower in the movie. Also, it's symbolic for M. Night Shyamalan's penis. Anyway, so as well as the Beast and all that other stuff. Symbolic. His cameo as a guard was kind of odd. It never appears before, never again in the story. It's just there. The guard. Is he the guy from the other movie that was talking about how superheroes were? We're not sure. It's the same guy or not. Yeah, as a comic book nerd, I think it is. I may be wrong on that. Comic book nerd and Red Letter Media that have already reviewed it pointed out clearly Shyamalan doesn't really understand how comic books work, because he like read them cursory and then heard from his own friends. Yeah, they capture Bruce Willis's character and James McAvoy's character, and they put them inside a thing. Yeah, I was saying M. Night Shyamalan doesn't understand comic books. I'll explain that later. How an origin story, how a team up works, how all that stuff works in comics. Is a cursory knowledge of comic books that clearly, from the standpoint of someone like me and my friends from high school, we totally know more than M. Night Shyamalan, and we're the same age as the guy. But we know more about comic books than they do. Not saying we know all of it, but we know an awful lot. Yeah, they mess up somewhere in the movie. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, M. Night Shyamalan doesn't get comic books. Okay, the premise of the story is that they put the three of them. They put the two of them in this weird insane asylum. There's other people in the insane asylum, apparently. So it's sort of like the New Mutants there. So it's clearly like a front. Immediately, it's a front. It's not a real, place. Yeah, she's got these lights that she uses to change the personalities of Mr. Billy Mulligan ripoff. That's the character. It's kind of a Billy Mulligan. And a mulligan is a term, too, for switching things. Yeah, it comes from that. That's clearly what the character of Split is supposed to be emulating. There was this character in the 80s, a kid who had 11 personalities inside of him, schizophrenic. None of them were a beast, but it'd be funny if they were. No. Yeah, and flashing lights do not make someone like that switch personalities, nor would anything other than their own mind-tripping different traumas. Because usually somebody who's schizophrenic personality disorder, or I think they call it something else now. It's not called schizophrenia. You can call it schizophrenia, but it's called something else. Borderline personality disorder, but schizophrenia. So they're like switching to this hyperbolic schizophrenia, which is an old term for it. He's got his neuroscience wrong, but I explained that in Split as well. Literally by having a plot device of having me playing my various acting characters, because in acting, actors are a little bit that way anyway. All actors. I wasn't. Clearly, I know that I'm not Silly Kelly and there's other people. I'm Adam, obviously, but I'm playing Kal Kat. A actual borderline personality person won't know that they're not playing the character. Ergo, you can't switch them with a flash of light to other personalities, or hug them into the other personality, or whatever. Yes, there's a hug scene. A couple of them. Anyway, so, yeah. Nobody's schizo here. Yeah, so most of that kind of disorder manifests as sounds or voices or OCD tendencies more than it does people switching personalities, like a supervillain or something. So yeah, that's how that works. But not in the Shyamalan universe. Apparently, in M. Night Shyamalan's universe, they're essentially impossible to explain magical beings that have like, and he tries to reverse that by having the evil doctor lady, who's clearly evil, try to convince them they're not superheroes, even though they clearly did superhuman things that didn't make sense. So they're clearly magical. They all are, and yeah, even the girl. And yeah, although strangely enough, they avoid using the term Stockholm syndrome. That comes out with the girl later. They bring the girl in from the last one who survived the last group. They bring her in to help talk to the guy, and they deliberately avoid. They almost said it, and then they decided not to, and they're all like, "Oh, bring her in here. I'm not going to let you in here." And then she immediately does, because there's a connection there, and she lets there be a connection there. Because Stockholm Syndrome is not a real condition, I advised in the last Split movie that if that does come up in the next one, don't use that term, because yeah, it's not like Beauty and the Beast Stockholm Syndrome thing. It's not a real thing in the DSA. Although it does happen that people will sympathize with their captors. I don't think at any point she really does all that much, except when he becomes the MacGuffin. But yeah, and the plot device. But yeah, this and then they try to explain how comic books work, and how like a bunch of them might team up to do a thing, or how supervillains will team up, or how they have to have a quest and they have to have like a terrorist attack thing, and that has to be in there so that they can do a symbolic gesture, and there's a bait and switch where it's not really that gesture they do something else. But Schleiman doesn't understand that it's a comic book and you have free reign to do whatever you want, as long as the censor board from the 70s didn't mess with it. So you would show the supervillain like Lex Luthor about to blow up the building. You would go there, you would show that, and Superman would stop it. Just, the bomb would be ticking down to zero, and he'd fly in and crush it or something, or throw it into space. And that would be your climax. They didn't do that here because they ran out of something, and yeah. Bruce Willis's character is trapped in a water tank prison thing, which they conveniently turn off at one point. So that Glass and the Unbreakable Beast can escape. And there have been enough reviews of this movie. I don't need to go into all the details, and won't. But I will spoil it. They bring the girl in. They brought the son in, and they even think they would know it was crazy. There's a Glass's plan is to cheat the laser machine that's going to lobotomize him, so that he can mess with. Even though they would know the lenses were messed with, but apparently this fake hospital is really inept and incompetent, and they allow things to happen. As Nostalgia Critic pointed out, the way Schleiman does his dialogue, it's like there's unnecessary exposition for events that, given people in an actual situation, would immediately stop. There's a lot of super coincidences that never would happen in real life. He likes to do that. That's a thing. He's sort of a Terrence Malick with super characters. Sometimes a coincidence is just a coincidence. I knew people that didn't believe in coincidences at all, but sometimes something just happened. Also, sometimes things are inevitable. But yes, So, is Unbreakable bad? Yeah, that was alright. Is Split bad? Hello. I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I am reviewing the movie. Yes, so yeah. Just they bring in the girl and they do the thing, and then they figure out Glass's plan, but they show it as well, like 3 different ways. Like typing on a computer and sending something using what appears to be like weird, like red spaced little typing things that are on the computer on the. I don't know what kind of system that would be that would have these red blocks and then black text bars and then black and then white text on it. Looks kind of like XLS. They're using Linux, I guess, or something. Anyway, why would they be? Well, I guess they could be mixed with Windows NT. How would that even work? And then he streams the broadcast of the superheroes. Spoiler, their fight to the world into the mother's iMac. The mother, what was in there? So yeah, Glass's mother is in there. To reveal how Glass uses leg powers. I also reveal all this other weird stuff. It's like why it. Yeah, yeah, not a good movie. The third act just completely craps the bed. It's just, wow. If they just like tightened up the script and said, okay, we don't need over 2 hours of exposition to get to this point, and then wuss out all of the village, and the happening, and then sort of homage that. We don't need to do it that way. We could just have their plan be revealed, sort of a sneaky thing, bait and switch, sting kind of thing. Would have been better. And have the, all she does is scream at the lady gets caught. She screams at the end. Like, what's that going to prove? As the Red Letter Media review pointed out, they were all like, well, they release it on the internet, and nobody's going to believe it, because it's just going to be like, oh, it's a TV show on the internet. The Split movie. So anyway, continuing with Split, or I keep saying Split, it's Glass. Samuel L. Jackson is barely in it. He's in it long enough to act comatose, and then there's in the last parts, there's a flashback to when he's a kid, and he gets injured on a tilt-a-whirl ride thing. There's Bruce Willis's character's power is revealed that water damages him, which is kind of lame. Yeah, what are their powers? Yeah, he doesn't understand how that stuff works. Now, X-Men did it more brilliantly. The X-Men series, and later copied by Marvel. In a sense, well, it's the same people as X-Men. Marvel. Yeah, I know they're Marvel. But X-Men had, like, the movies. In terms of the movies, the X-Men were mutants. They had, like, mutant powers. And they're Marvel. And and they're on Fox. But they're Marvel and they have comic books. And their mutant powers just mean their genes are different. DC liked to use as well as Marvel, like to use radioactivity, the scare, the Red Scare, and the Red Menace, and all that, and the whole thing from the 40s and 50s. Also, there is an incorrect statement early on that is reiterated in the movies that it all started with Superman in the 1930s. It did not. Comic book and comic strips were there before Superman. It said Superman popularized it. Yes, comic serials and stories were around going back to at least the early 30s, before Superman, with such adventures as Alan Quatermain, and Buck Rogers, and the Lone Ranger, and stuff like that. The Shadow. Yeah, a bunch of these earlier things, The Shadow, vigilante ghost cop fights crime stuff. They say, they copied Spawn. No, Spawn was way after that. The original Shadow was the 30s. So a lot of these comic serial strips would air in newspapers. And that's where they started. They started in newspapers in the 30s. Maybe even the late 20s. But as soon as serials were printable, it was probably the 30s, yeah. Superman was really early, and so was Batman. Like, right in the beginning there. But, Detective Comics and AC Comics. And that's true. Action Comics was, yeah. And then later, Marvel's relatively new. It's like, started in the 60s. But yeah, you can kind of tell because they're kind of hippies and stuff. But yeah, Spider-Man was not around in the 30s and 40s, but there's a character called Spider-Man Noir that's throwback to that. No, and they were all the 60s. During the Comics Code era, they had to like skirt around everything. Yeah, so there's all kinds of history on comic books. Schleiman could have looked up real easy. I Googled it, internet it, asked people, because he's a film director. He showed up and able to ask them over there at DC, because he would have gone to DC and asked them, okay, where is the first comic book? What was it like? Who was, what was the first, the first popular comic book, Superman. Oh yeah, Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman. Those are the earliest TV serials from Batman and Superman were the 1930s as well. They were immediately made serial adventures out of them. Yeah, before that it was the Westerns with Lone Ranger, Gunsmoke and stuff. That was a little later, yeah. Lone Ranger was a lot of this stuff was radio programs in the 20s and 30s. Radio programs. So they were on the radio. They would hear the Shadow, no. You would hear like this, because they didn't have TV back then, and radio, and you would imagine the adventures of the Shadow. There was this spooky guy on there. Maybe it was a young Vincent Price, I'm not sure. And he would come out and he'd go, oh, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. It was like, yeah, so there'd be this goofy stuff going on. Alan Quatermain was the precursor to the DuckTales comics, and so Indiana Jones and DuckTales later, the cartoon, copied from Alan Quatermain, as well as Star Wars, which comes from that and Buck Rogers. Star Wars comes from Buck Rogers, and a number of other things. The Hidden Fortress, Gunsmoke. There were a lot of these earlier. Bonanza was later, 60s. But all this, the same ideas going on. The first sci-fi serials were in the late 20s, Metropolis. The term Metropolis comes from that movie. The Metropolis, the 1927 movie, Metropolis, the first sci-fi movie. And also, C-3PO is in Metropolis. It's a fembot that comes out at one point and leads a workers' revolt. It's like, wow, okay, look, it literally looks like C-3PO. It's got like the face, eyeballs, like around the head. That's where he got that from. As well as their death laser beam thing. But in the movie, it's sort of like a ray gun. Flash Gordon as well, early serial. So yeah, there's a lot of that comic book stuff is like not mystical, but it's mystical in the sense that people like it. So it's like, I mentioned somebody, would you ever go to a comic book convention? Actually, if Schleiman had gone to a comic book convention, it might have helped. A little bit. He seemed to also be saying to his critics, again, like in Lady in the Water, I have seen that. I should review that one. It's one of the worst movies ever made. But yes, I think The Happening was funny, though. It was really bad. But Mark Wahlberg, the plants and all that. Yeah, I didn't really hate that movie. I thought it was like, okay, yeah, it's so batshit insane. All right, yeah. It's not good. It's sort of like at Stone Gremlins when they were saying if you laugh or cry at a movie, it doesn't make that scene, the whole movie good, it just makes that scene good. There are some scenes in there that are like, oh my goodness, oh my no. So the premise of this movie is this fight that they have at the parking lot at the end. Back to the movie. I also haven't talked about any previews, I'm not going to in this review, because they were all similar. Death Day 2, that was really the only one that recall too much about, but it was a movie. It's Groundhog Day, but crossed with the Evil Birthday was an '80s movie. It's kind of a remake, but anyway, back to the movie. They did that years ago. Yeah, the Death Day movies are a remake of something from the '80s. Yes. because there's nothing new, just like in comic books. Well, yeah, they can get weirder and weirder, but they're not new. Um, yeah, there are some that are new and original, but they're usually like, you know, different. They're usually avant-garde or the table, or they're comic books that are independent press or something. Yeah, so this movie ends with a showdown in a parking lot because they clearly ran out of money. And they're like, oh, we're gonna like bust him out of the water tower. He's under the water, and his power is water and whatever. And goes in the tank with the beast. There's another scene where Glass is attacked and nearly killed. He's dying. The other guy's fighting the beast. There's people thrown into vans and people thrown into a dumpster and then released and from the van. And there's a SWAT team attacking, and it's all a blur of just weird stuff that could be from a cop show or part of a TV show that would not convince anyone of anything. But no, it will be the happening event at the end. It will change the world. Superheroes are real. Apparently he had just seen Heroes, the TV show, and was like, I'm just going to rip that off. Yeah. Well, that came out in the 2000s, a little bit after Unbreakable. Because that was kind of a response to his movie and to comic books, saying, let's make a down-to-earth superhero thing where it's kind of like Unbreakable. Now this movie is like kind of Heroes, but not. But villain. Heroes and villains. But he took from the 4th season. He took from Villains, and Villains wasn't very good. So it's not worth watching. If you want to, go ahead. Torture yourself. Sylar's not there anymore. Anyway, he's over doing Star Trek. Yeah. Zachary Quino. Sylar. Yep. So, in the end, yeah, Bruce Willis is... Spoilers. Yeah. Glass dies, Bruce Willis dies, and the Beast is killed because the girl hugs him, not because she likes him, she's trying to convince him to... So it's not Stockholm Syndrome. She likes him, so to turn back because like a hug kills him or something, and then as Angry Joe, other Joe pointed out, that was kind of stupid. The power of hugs killed him. And Joe's like, oh yeah, it was kind of like Care Bears or something. Yeah. And then the sniper snipes him, but it's like, that begs the question, like, he survived the gunshot because they explained the gun was wet. But no, it would have killed him. Would have blown a hole through him. As Jim Chacon pointed out when he heard about, or maybe he saw it. He's all like, yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, he would have had a hole blasted through him. As well as my nephew Johnny, who also saw it, split. And he was like, he didn't like it. So you probably won't like Glass either. But I've just seen Glass, and I can safely say, yeah, he probably wouldn't like this movie. He liked Bane from Batman. He liked Venom. So, because it's Tom Hardy. I basically said, well, you were Tom Hardy years ago, and you look kind of like him, so you were Tom Hardy in Star Trek Nemesis. Well, it's like, yeah, I remember that. Oh. Yeah, that was kind of a dumb movie too, but yeah. But yeah, that guy did look a little bit. Mostly the hair. He doesn't have any hair. No, the expressions too. He could play a parody of Tom Hardy. Kind of funny. Actually, he could kind of do James McAvoy. It's probably why I didn't like Split. It's like, oh, no, not like that guy. No, he's not like that guy, but he could do the character. So, it's not a coffee cup with nothing in it. There's water in it. Yeah, so, yeah, the last, for 2 hours you sit through this movie, and you're like, to the last 30 minutes, you're just like, really? It's not even a twist. Like, ooh, his secret plan was that he foiled them by sending the signal out to the world to, basically, it's the Deus Ex Machina computer ending. It's kind of a reverse of the movie The Village, if you think about it. In The Village, the blind girl goes out of the woods and is killed. So they never get out of the village. And it's like, this one, it's the reverse of that. It's like, no, it's like The Happening, but with The Happening actually doing something. Well, it actually, like, changing the world, even though it wouldn't. Because Schleiman thinks he is going to change the world. Yes, his movie is pretentious, but they all kind of are. I don't fault the pretentiousness of it just because he's like that. Unbreakable is still a better movie. Sixth Sense is probably his best movie. Signs is probably kind of in the same ballpark as this one. Because it's like the ending, the coincidences and the ending are just like, what? You didn't have to do that and probably shouldn't have done it that way. So, I guess I've pretty much said all I was going to say about Split. It's yeah. It's not Split, Glass. I would not recommend Glass. It kind of sucks. My review of it, yeah, the coincidences mainly are the problem. The twists are not twists. They're just sloppy writing. But apart from that, yeah, let's give it a rating then. 2 stars. 2 stars. The first half of 2 stars would be 40%. So it's about the same as on Rotten Tomatoes. 36, 40. Yeah. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. It just blows it. Now, I liked G.I. Joe, which got the same score, and G.I. Joe 2, although they got everything wrong. I still liked the movie, because there was some stuff they got right, but they got a lot of the characters wrong. Same thing here, except the characters aren't deep enough to warrant getting them wrong. He made them up himself, so we can forgive him of that. So, on the basis of a comic book movie, it's absolute rubbish. It's not how comic book movies work, nor is it an origin story. Anyway, that's